that I've noticed when I was playing Last Titan Standing today. I've noticed so many people who are using Ronin, using them incorrectly, and overall just don't know how to use them. That's why I have created this guide right here. In this guide, I'm going to be talking to you about what to do and what not to do when you're playing the Ronin, your general gameplay on how you're going to play the Titan, and what Titans are good against, and what Titans are the easiest, and what Titans are the hardest for you to face when you're playing as the Ronin. I'm going to say this in a Last Titan Standing point of view, because this is the game mode that I normally see people screw up with Ronin the most, and it's the game mode that I play most often. So, let's get into this. So, some general tips on what to do when you're playing the Titan. These are just general tips for Last Titan Standing. So they're pretty simple, but I see a lot of people screw them up all the time. The number one thing I see people doing wrong is they melee way too much with the guy. The only times that you should be meleeing are if your enemy is close to execution range or you have your sword core up. Those are the only two times when you should be meleeing. The rest of the times you should be dashing around, you should be dashing, throwing your arc waves, and damaging them with your shotgun. Just punishing them with that shotgun. It does so much damage, okay? Another thing that I see people doing wrong is that they're using, they're just being very, very too aggressive. You know, sure, you need to be positioned aggressively with Ronin, but you can't be aggressive to the point to where you're going to take a lot of damage in the process. You're very squishy. So, in terms of Titan battles, most of the time, after when you're done taking out a Titan, you're going to be battered and bruised. No matter how good you are, you're going to take damage, no matter what. You can't avoid taking damage when you're playing as Ronin, because you have to be up in their face, and that's when you're going to take damage. You're not ever going to take no damage when you are playing as a Ronin. You're going to take damage no matter what. You can't avoid it, okay? The other thing is that he is very good for flanking, but a lot of times I see people don't even flank and they try to go where everyone else is. Now there are certain times to where there are exceptions to when you could do it, and that's if, let's say, you're rushing up against two North Stars and they're right there. You could use your teammates as body shields, and then what you could do is you could charge up with those North Stars and take them out. Yeah, that's fine. But if you're charging through the middle of the map with your teammates and you see a Tone, a Legion, an Ion, all the good heavy Titans, you want to try to stay away from those engagements, because you're never going to win those type of engagements. The first thing you should think of is, okay, which way are they going to go? If they go through middle, try to flank. If you flank, then you have a huge advantage because you're so much faster. You can flank very, very fast. And this leads to another tip, is that when you flank, try to engage on the Titan that is farthest away from their frontline Titans, because there is not much communication in Last Titan Standing. And if you can get a good flank on a good group of Titans, half the time the people up at the front won't even realize that they're getting flanked. So you could get an easy free Titan kill off of the ones that's the farthest away from them, and the people up at the front probably won't even realize that they're being flanked, like I just said. I mean, obviously, the Titan that you're shooting at will shoot you, and obviously he knows he's being flanked, but the other ones are just oblivious to it at sometimes when they're in the heat at the moment. They really don't pay attention. Now, the kits you want to use. Your kits are very, very important when you're playing this Titan, because this Titan, depending on what kit you use, really, really depends on how you're going to play. Okay, so I'm just going to give you the general, which is the best setup for Ronin, and which ones are just the ones you should avoid. General. The Titan kit, the ones that you should get, and I'm going to make this very, very short and simple, because a lot of people, what I see people doing is that they talk about the kits only, and that's their entire guide, and I don't think you need to be having this discussion for too long. So I'm going to make this very clear. Turbo engine. Absolute 100 yes. You want to have turbo engine, because due to the recent buff that Ronin had, his dashes recharge at a faster. His normal recharge dash rate is faster, and also add sword core, which will pretty much double your dash regen. So you will start out, the one reason you want to have turbo engine is because when you have your sword core up, you'll start with more dashes, so you'll be able to keep up with your opponent a lot faster and a lot easier than rather when you only had 2. And also, this is exactly how you need to be playing the Titan. You need to use your mobility to your advantage, you need to dash around, and you just need to dance circles around your opponents, okay? And that's also, if they are slower than you need to dash them around, like you need to dash around everywhere to make them hard to hit you. And then, the only other one that I normally see people use is nuclear rejection, which I don't recommend nuclear rejection for any Titan personally. I just don't like the skill. It's basically asking you to play poorly with the Titan so you can get an easy, big, huge kill feed and to post on Reddit. And really, that's not what the mentality you want to have when you are playing any Titan personally. You want to do good, you want to have fun. And having fun is not purposely dooming your Titan so you could just get a big kill feed. The only time I would recommend nuclear rejection is if you're new to the game and you're not very good at it yet, then fine. Put on nuclear rejection because you know that due to the way on how you play and due to the way on how you suck really badly, that may be the only way how you're going to get a kill. Okay? Alright? So, I mean, no offense to the people who literally just got the game. I'm not saying that you do suck, you'll probably end up getting it very fast, but what I'm saying is for people who are just new to the game and they're not very good at it yet, put nuclear rejection because you know that may be the only way how you're going to get a kill. Okay? The next thing that normally I see people use is overcore, which I highly strongly against this for some reason. Like, I feel like this is not very needed for Ronin because the sword core is good, but it's not something that you desperately need to have. Like, it's not something like life or death, like tone salvo core, even smart core or laser core. It's not like something you obviously always have to have. You can do plenty damage just by swinging your sword, you're using your arc wave, and just shooting them with your shotgun. You could do so much damage just by doing that. You don't really need sword core all the time. It's not something life or death. Then the rest of them are just kind of like, no way. Assault chip, you're dooming your entire team by using assault chip. And it's not very good if you have a light Titan like Ronin and you're just feeding them to the dogs. Start with auto eject, you're going to be spending a lot of time in the doom state anyway, so this is not going to be very good for you. And counter ready, you don't need to worry about being rodeoed in Last Titan Standing. Which, speaking of rodeoing, I will talk about a little bit of a pro tip with Ronin. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any gameplay of me actually doing it because I have not really been rodeoed today and I have not really been saving any gameplay. I should have thought about this when I made this video, but I figured that it'd be better if I would talk about it instead of just show you the gameplay, because the gameplay may distract me, or I may do something in the gameplay that I said not to do, and I don't want to give you guys the wrong idea, okay? So, you don't need to worry about being rodeoed in Last Titan Standing, and if you do get rodeoed, I'm going to show you a little trick on how to really just like give them a big, huge ha-ha in your face, okay? So, your next thing for your Titan kit you're going to pick is, you're going to go with the Thunderstorm kit, 95 to 100% of the time. Simple reason is because it gives you an extra charge on Arc Wave, which is extremely useful because it's going to be useful for the combo that you're going to be doing when you're in the match and you're engaging on a Titan. And you can definitely increase your damage output when using this kit, because that means you can do 2 combos, because you only need 1 Arc Wave to do each combo. So you can literally like do this combo twice and be able to really do some good damage, okay? So definitely increase your damage output. You definitely want to have Thunderstorm. Plus, it's always a good clutch thing, because if you need both your Arc Waves to be able to, like, let's say, get away from a Ronin, you can slow him down really good by using both your Arc Waves. So it's really good. Temporal Anomaly is the only really other one that I normally see people use, and this gives you a slightly cooler, a slightly faster cooldown on the phase dash, which the phase dash is good, and this can be very useful if you're going up against like multiple tones, but even so, you're probably still going to be better off with the Thunderstorm kit anyway, because your phase dash does not really give you as much benefits as your Arc Waves do. Your Arc Waves gives you such big of a benefit when you are in battle, and also really do increase your damage. Your phase dash really, as long as you don't constantly spam your phase dash and use it when you only need it, you don't really need to get it faster, okay? So, take Thunderstorm, 95, 100%, actually 95, not even 95, 100% of the time. Don't even pick any other ones. The other ones right here are just kind of like really bad. Ricochet rounds, your rounds travel so short that you don't really need to be bouncing them off walls. You need to just be shooting them in the face. Temp Highlander is not something I've used, but I know how it works. And to be honest, it's not very good because your sword core already lasts a good amount of time in its base form. And in Last Titan Standing, after about your second Titan kill, maybe with sword core, there may not really be many other Titans left on the map, so you're just going to run around with sword core active, and you're probably going to end up seeing the other Titan, but you're probably going to end up to extend or to be able to have your sword core long enough to be able to take them out. So you're probably just going to dash around the map and run out of sword core anyway, so it really does not really matter. You're better off not using it. Plus, and phase reflex actually screws up what you're trying to do more than it actually helps you. What this does is that as soon as your Titan hits the Doomsday, like immediately once your Titan hits Doomsday, it puts you in the phase dash for like 5 seconds, which normally you're in phase dash for maybe like 2.5 seconds. And it's a very long phase dash, and what happens is this kind of screws you up because like you can't control when you're gonna go you can't really control when it's gonna happen, because in the heat of the moment, like let's say, you're in the middle of the battle, kicks a butt, and then all of a sudden you get thrown into an unexpected phase dash and you had no time to react. And I just feel like it just really, really screws up what you're trying to do more than really what it actually helps you. I also don't recommend it because a lot of people seem to think that nuclear ejection and phase reflex are like the best combo ever, but it's the most douchiest combo ever, in my opinion. Okay, and then for your last thing, it doesn't really even matter what you pick. Take the Dome Shield or Warp Fall. In Last Titan Standing, it doesn't really matter anyway, because you spawn in your Titan already. So, now that we have gone over your kits and how you're going to play the Titan, now we're going to go and think, okay, well, the first thing you're going to do is when you spawn in, you're going to decide what are you going to do. Are you going to go grab a battery? Whether you go and grab a battery, okay, you're going to go grab a battery that is the closest to you, okay? Now, due to the recent update right there, they did change the battery placement, so it is a little bit harder to get batteries now because they're a little more different in place, and you need to be very fast to grab the batteries, otherwise you're going to get flanked, or a Titan's just going to show up right in your face, and then you're going to take a lot of damage in the process. But whether you decide, so if you get the battery or don't get the battery, you need to decide where you're going to go on the map. In this game, there is a 3-lane system, so there's mid, there's left side, and there's right side, okay? I'm not going to really go into detail on what maps you should do it on. There's really no problem. You can flank on really any map, except for Homestead, because it's so wide open and there's literally no cover for your Titan. That's why on Homestead I would never recommend using Ronin unless you're really ballsy and you feel like you can do good with him. Then fine, do it. But you're probably going to end up dying anyway because there's no cover for your Titan, so you're going to be completely exposed, and the only thing you can do is hold up your sword block, and that's not going to help you for long. It will help you for a little while, but it's not going to help you the entire game. Okay? So, once you decide where you're going to go on the map, you need to decide, okay, what Titan, the thing that makes Ronin hard is that you need to think about what you're going to do before you do it. If you're going in the middle of the map and you see a Legion, you're going to probably think to yourself, okay, the best thing to do is to not push him immediately. You want to try to let him get towards you, so what you want to do is you want to kind of like tease him by just like poking out and shooting arc waves at him, and eventually he may get pissed and then he may just like try to rush towards you, and then that's exactly what you want him to do. You want him to rush you so that way he gets closer to you, and once he's close enough to you to where you could just melee him to death, you can pop your electric smoke and just dash around him while shooting him and throwing down your arc waves. That's the one thing you need to do. You need to really think about what you're going to do before you do it. Okay? Another good thing, and that's also another tip, just let them get close to you. Try to let them get close to you, and don't try to rush them unless they are in Doom State. If they're in Doom State, then fine, just rush them. But, or if you have Sword Core. If you have Sword Core, then fine, charge in and just go to town, okay? Another good tip is that this Titan, he's good for flanking. So, for flanking, when you're going to flank, you need to make sure that you know which route you're going to take. Because if you don't know which route you're going to take, and then you're going to be very indecisive, it's going to be too late. Because the other Titans are probably already thinking, we're going to go flank. And when you try to go flank, you're going to run right into them. So you need to be able to make sure that which way you're going to take, so you know that by the time you get there, you'll be behind them, and they won't be staring right at you, okay? So that's the one thing you need to do. Your mobility is so high, it's so easy to flank. Another good thing is that when you are flanking, make sure to go for the Titan that is farthest away from your frontline Titan, because there is not much communication in Last Titan Standing anyway. So half the time when you're going to go do a flank, half the time the people up at the front won't even realize that they're being flanked. So what happens is that you can get an easy free Titan kill, and the other teammates that are up at the front during in the heat of the battle may not even realize that one of your teammates died and you're behind them. So that's another really thing that is the very beneficial when you are playing with Ronin. The only one downside to it is that you are the least stealthiest Titan on your team. So you need to think, you know, about, do I really need to expose my... But anyway, so yeah, you need to be very, very smart about what you're going to do when you're flanking, because you have the least amount of stealth on your team, so you can't afford to be spotted immediately. You need to kind of try to be sneaky, even though you're not very a sneaky Titan. You're kind of a fast-rushing, aggressive Titan, okay? So, now that we've gone over your tips and tricks, your Titan kit, and what you're going to do, and probably your main strategy, what you're going to do in-game, now we're going to talk about who is good against the Ronin, or who is bad, or who is good against the Ronin. And it's going to be from easiest to hardest. There's not really like one Titan that's really good against the Ronin. The only thing that I can tell you is range. If you can attack the Ronin and keep him at a distance, that's how you beat the Ronin. You never want to try to rush a Ronin. You never really want to try to rush a Ronin. When you are playing against the Ronin, you never really want to try to rush them unless he's in Doomsday or unless he's caught in a bad position. You don't really want to rush him. If he's in a position to where if you rush him, he'll have the advantage on you, don't rush him. And the one thing that also gives you a huge advantage over the Ronin is that most of the Titans that are in the game, pretty much all the Titans that are in the game have an advantage over the Ronin, but there are also a lot of things that the Ronin has the advantage over you. So it's kind of hard to decide who's going to win. It just depends on really the situation and how the Ronin is attacking, if he knows what he's doing. Because that's the thing about range with the Ronin, is the fact that if he knows what he's doing, he's going to do everything in his power to try to get up close to you, whether you like it or not. And whether you know what you're doing to keep him away, most Ronin players end up getting close to you anyway, due to the amount of speed that he has. Okay? So, yeah. So, right now, by far, the easiest Titan for you to go up against when you are playing is the Scorch. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, how is the Scorch the easiest? Well, one, he has a slow fire rate on his projectile, on his primary weapon, and his projectile that he fires is very slow, and all of his attacks are slow and are very telegraphed all the time, and can easily be predictable. And due to the amount of speed that you have, you should be able to dodge pretty much all of his attacks, except for his primary weapon. But the most you could do against his primary weapon is probably sword block it. That's probably the most thing that really you could do. And what you want to do is that a big huge tip when you're facing against a Scorch is you never want to try to melee or use your sword core against a Scorch. Unless he's in execution range, you don't ever want to try to melee a Scorch, because that flame, he will destroy you with that flame shield faster than you can melee him to death. Okay? That being said though, a fun thing to do against Scorch is to bait out his flame shield. Get up really close to him, Most Scorches will have the extra dash on them, so they will dash towards you, and all you gotta do is a one simple dash backwards, and then all of a sudden, you're just out of reach of his Flame Shield. And then he's gonna have to make a decision because he can't still follow you with his Flame Shield up. So he's gonna have to retreat, and that's when you can go in and attack. You could just keep constantly baiting out his Flame Shield, and then be able to just keep constantly doing damage to him. And what you want to do is you just want to keep on dancing around him the entire time and just keep on teasing him by going up towards him and dashing backwards. Then he's pretty much done for, because he can't really do anything to you at that point, because unless you're right up in his face or you're trapped in a corner or you're in some type of close quarters with him, he's not going to be able to do any damage to you. That's why the Scorch is the worst matchup against the Ronin. The Ronin just has a clear-cut advantage over him, okay? The next easiest Titan for you to face, which is the North Star, but it's a little bit tricky on how this one works. For all the situations where I'm saying easy or hard, I'm assuming that you are within range to where you could start shooting them. I'm not saying, oh, you see the North Star on the other side of the map, and you're on this side of the map, bam, you're gonna win this engagement. No, you're not. You need to be able to get up close to them without giving that North Star free headshots off of you, okay? Because her headshots do so much damage, like, it's really, really crazy. And due to the recent bug fix that they did, his sword block is now more effective against North Star, because in the recent bug, Ronin's sword block wasn't blocking the necessary amount of damage that it was supposed to against the North Star with a fully charged railgun shot. It kept on dealing more damage than what it was supposed to do when you were sword blocking. Now they fixed that. So your sword block blocks truly 70% of the damage that it's going to take for you when you are blocking that shot. Which most North Star players are very, very upset about now, but now it gives Ronin more of an advantage over sword block when you are going up against the North Star. So, and the reason why she is the second easiest for you to face is because North Star has practically no defense against you, considering that since you are so close quarters, that if you're right up in the North Star's face, there's nothing really that North Star can do. She's basically doomed to die. Her tether traps don't even help her, because you could just phase dash right out of those. So that's the one thing. Wait until that North Star drops a tether trap, then use your phase dash, because you could phase dash right on out of it, and then you could just get right back up in her face, and she'll have to wait to get those tether traps recharged, and by the time her tether traps recharge, she's already dead. So the North Star is extremely, extremely bad against you. Now, the third easiest Titan for you to face, and this regards to how the mechanics work, is the Tone. The Tone moves slower than you, so you should be able to keep up with him when you're trying to do your combo and you're trying to really get your attacks in. And he has a very poor defensive ability against you. His particle wall will only help him for maybe like 2 seconds into the match, and then you could just instantly destroy it with an arc wave. The arc wave will one-hit a particle wall, whether it has reinforced particle wall or not. It will one-hit a particle wall. Same thing for Legion's gun shield. If it doesn't one-shot it, then a second one will do the trick. But most of the time, if you aim it correctly, you will one-shot gun shield. You will one-shot the gun shield and the particle wall, which gives you a great advantage over Legion and Tone, even though they're probably the two big heavy Titans that are probably, depending on the situation that you're in, will beat you. But also, due to the recent nerf, well, not really nerf, but I guess mechanic into the game, your phase dash now breaks any lock-on that Tone has acquired on you, whether it's from her 40mm or it's from her sonars, which is huge. Because if you're able to completely get rid of the first round of tracking rockets, that gives you a huge advantage, because then that's damage that you're not taking, and you can just lay waste into that Tone for a long while without worrying on having to deal with tracker rockets until the second round. Then you'll have to wait for phase dash to recharge, and you could just sword block the rockets, really. Also, I forgot to mention about her defensive ability. Since it's so weak, what most Tones seem to do is that they dash to the other side of their particle wall, and then all of a sudden, hey, you have a free defensive ability. You can use his own particle wall against him. You can dash through the particle wall and then shoot through the particle wall while he's on the other side. It's so funny to do, and it's probably the most satisfying thing to do against the Tone, is just use his own defensive ability against him. against them. And then now, I'm going to say right now, the fourth easiest Titan for you to face is probably, I would have to say, the Ion. Now, the Ion at this point is very, very good at this point. She's probably the best Titan in the game because she counters the Titans that were previously OP, meaning the Tone and Legion. So having a Titan that counters both of those Titans is very good and gives you a huge advantage because most people run Tone and Legion. Those are really common Titans that people use. But the advantages that she normally has against those Titans don't work against you. For one, her Vortex Shield. Her Vortex Shield does not really work against you because your attacks are very, very fast and they're not very telegraphed. So the only really thing that she really can grab with her Vortex Shield is your shotguns blast, but those are projectile weapons. So if she once she fires it, she can't control where it's going to go or do anything. It's completely done. They're projectile weapons. When you're playing with Ion, the one thing you always want to try to grab hit scan weapons, but unfortunately the only hit scan weapon in the game is Legion's Predator Cannon. So anything else is a projectile weapon, which if you grab it, it's kind of hard to hit people with. It's a lot easier to hit people with the Predator Cannon because Legion's such big of a target that it's so easy to hit him with it. So her Vortex Shield doesn't work. The only thing that the Ion can really do against you, and this is the one thing that Ion players love to do, what they'll do is that they will fire their laser shot and then hide behind a corner or something and let their laser shots recharge and then go right back and just fire them again. They just love to just constantly use the laser shot because that is their most powerful thing. So the one thing you want to do when you're playing with Ronin is you don't want to give them any time to charge up those laser shots. So you need to push them. You may take the first 2 laser shots, but you can always try to block those with your sword. And once you're in the position to where you're like right up in the Ion's face, and you're not really giving her any time to charge those laser shots, that's really bad because one, her primary weapon does little damage, and when you sword block it, it barely does really anything. And she really can't really use anything else. Her tripwires don't even work. Because of the fact that her tripwires don't work because of the fact of one, you could just destroy them with an arc wave, or shoot them, and 2, you can phase dash right through them. So the tripwires don't really work against you. Vortex Shield doesn't really work against you. The laser shot somewhat works against you. It just depends on how you feel. If you rush them, it won't work. If you sit back, it will work on them. So there's really nothing really that an Ion could do. She's at a complete disadvantage. With you. Now, the only reason that I put her at the 4th spot, which makes her seem kind of hard, is because of the fact that if she has laser core and you don't got phase dash or you don't have anything, you're toast. Because your sword block does not really work against laser core. The laser core does not care whether you are holding up your sword or not. It's going to kill you. Trust me. The laser core does so much damage that whether you sword block or not, you're going to die anyway. So it doesn't matter. So the next, now it's getting to the point to where it's extremely hard for you. So it's kind of hard to decide whether these last 2, you know who they are. It's either Legion or Ronin, which honestly, really, I'm going to put Legion at the 5th and I'm going to put Ronin at the 6th. Okay, so for now, I'm going to put Legion at 5th, but if something happens and Ronin is a lot more, like, if something happens, if a patch happens and it changes the way how Legion plays, then I may switch him. But until then, at this state of the game, Legion is the 5th Titan for you to fight. Legion is a heavy Titan, and he does constant damage. He does so much constant high damage that he completely outclasses your burst damage that you do. So the one thing you want to do when you're playing against a Legion and you're going head-on against them, you can't really take on a Legion head-on without cover. The Ronin can never take on a Legion in the open without any cover because the Legion just has a clear-cut advantage over you. Because if you don't got any cover against the Titan, you're going to take full force of all of the constant damage, even with sword block. So you need to have cover when you're going up against Legion. If you don't have any cover when you're going up against Legion, you're doomed to die and there's no contest. Legion wins by default. You need to have cover. You need to be able to, dash behind cover or sword block behind cover to reload your shots and be able to take less damage. Okay? So honestly, at this point, really, I would actually put Legion as a counter to the Ronin because the Legion most likely beats out Ronins. Depending on most of the time, you're gonna beat out a Ronin with a Legion. If you are in somewhat of the open and they don't have much cover, but on most of the maps they do have a lot of cover, except for Homestead. So if you find a Ronin out in the middle of the map with Homestead, you're gonna win that engagement. There's no cover for them. So that's the one thing. So Legion wins by default if there's no cover for the Ronin. Okay? Now, it's a different story if he has Sword Block. I mean, not Sword Block, Sword Core. If he has Sword Core, what he could do is he could just go up to you, pop his electric smoke, and then just dance around you in the electric smoke. And pretty much what he'll do is he'll pretty much murder you because with Sword Core, you increase your damage output by so much that by the time you even have a chance to even fire your gun, you're probably already in doom state anyway, and you're just gonna die. So unless that Ronin has Sword Core, and he's like dancing around you, and it's kind of hard for you to really hit him, then you're gonna win. So unless that Ronin has Sword Core, the chances of you losing to a Ronin when you're playing with Legion are very, very slim. So Legion, I would consider a counter for Ronin. And that's why Ronin, against the Legion, he's probably one of the hardest in the game to face. And then this last one, I don't consider hard, but I consider it the most rage-inducing because it's just so annoying to go up against this Titan, and that's simply just another Ronin. In Ronin duels, what normally ends up happening is that both Ronins will stand at a stalemate, holding up their sword block, and then when either of them try to shoot, they hold up their sword block and they do little bits of damage over time, and it just turns into a battle that none of them win. They just end up probably either killing each other, or one of them, or both of them are in doom state, and one of them executes each other, and that's it. All right. So the general thing on what you want to do is you want to try to let them shoot first because they're going to have to go for the reload at some point, and then that's when you can just unload your combo. But then again, they may just sword block it and then just deal a little bit of damage. Overall, really, in terms of really Ronin and Ronin, the fight just takes forever. There will be eventually a winner, but it just takes forever because their sword block can be held up infinitely, and they can just block so much damage, and it just takes forever to kill each other. The only time that one Ronin has a decisive victory over another is if one of them has their sword core and the other one doesn't. If they both have their sword core, then it's basically turned into a dancing battle where they dash at each other, swing, dash backwards, dash at each other again, and swing. They just dash, swing at each other. But if one of them has their sword core and the other one doesn't, most of the time the Ronin with the sword core will win. Just a little bit of a tip. If your opponent is the one with the sword core and you are not, he'll primarily be dashing at you the entire duration. So if he uses his phase dash at any point in the battle to close the gap between you two, and he's close enough to where he will be right up on you when he comes out, dash in the direction that he was at, because you'll end up behind him. He'll be extremely confused as to where you went for a few seconds, and you could be able to get some damage out on him without him noticing. You may be able to attack him from behind for a little bit to get some damage in, and then by then, if you have your sword core, you may be able to win the battle if you have your sword core by then. So the only really thing that you could do is just dash in the direction that he goes when he uses his phase dash. Now, when he doesn't, and you two are just in the sword fight, make sure to just dash backwards constantly. And shoot, and just try to make sure not to push him. You want to try to make sure to make him chase you, and just don't try to attack him head on. Okay, so that's the one thing that you need to do when you're facing off against a Ronin. So at this point, that's probably the end of the guide right now. Holy cow, man! This guide was wow. Holy cow! I know I was talking really fast. And I'm sorry if you couldn't really understand me, but I was in the heat of the moment. So let me know in the comment section below. If you don't agree with anything I say, let me know in the comment section below, and then we'll talk, and maybe we can come up with a discussion on really who's right and who's wrong. But overall, since I've been playing Ronin, these are the tips that I do, and these are the things that I do when I play against certain Titans. I hope this guide helps you out a lot when you are playing Last Time Standing and you're using Ronin. A like comment and subscribe is always appreciated. And in the next stream, I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace out.